Welcome back, Nation members. This is XCOM and Update, and of course, I am the Midman. So it's a new year, and this guy's going to say something. What are you saying? I can't hear you.
Welcome to engineering.
Oh, well, if that's it, I don't really need to hear anything. This is where they talk about how he'll begin fabrication, and they just got some new stuff that I should probably work on. So anyway, this year is, first of all, everybody, welcome to the new year, and I hope you're going to have a great one. Always strive for greatness, regardless of what you're doing. No matter what you're doing, give it 100%. You guys will turn out all right. That's my thoughts on that. But it is a new year, and I thought it would be best to talk about some of my personal New Year's resolutions this year and what's actually attainable. I could have high, lofty New Year's resolution goals, but honestly, I just don't have anything that major that I want to do. I quit smoking, sorta, last year. I have the vapor stuff, so occasionally you may hear that. I don't smoke anymore. I haven't actually for 6 months, and that's actually gotten a lot better. You'd be surprised at the things you can all of a sudden do when you don't have to take a breath every 10 feet that you walk. I'm not a fat guy or anything. I mean, I was a smoker, a heavy smoker, so it was very, very taxing. Let's go with taxing to run around. But yeah, I do it all the time now, and that doesn't bug me at all. So I'm on the vape stuff. So I've already got that out of the way, and that's one of the more common New Year's resolutions. But at 35 years of age and owning a YouTube channel, you know what? I think this year I'm going to give you guys a commitment, and the developers out there a commitment that hopefully will meet all our needs, and hopefully will boost our channel. Dude, there's some geese outside going nuts. I hate my neighborhood right now. Yesterday on New Year's Eve, oh my God, people were setting off fireworks, and geese apparently hate fireworks because there was a flock what is she doing to that gun? There is a flock the likes of which I have never seen. Well, except for maybe in The Birds, like the old Alfred Hitchcock movie. Maybe there, but never anywhere else. It was ridiculous. Anyway, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to try to be better for you guys. At the end of this year, my long-lost sister got to come down and visit, and I actually got to meet her. I got to meet my nephews and her husband, all great people. And I found out that my nephew is also interested in YouTube videos, so that was kind of, I felt like I could do something, to help there, to actually give back, not only to the YouTube community, because he may be awesome at it, but also, I guess, to kind of get to know my family. I don't know, that every bit of that is awkward for me because I'm a very literal person. The way that I had gone into looking at that the first time and still kind of look at it this way, and I hope this isn't offensive. I don't mean for it to be. It may come off that way, but I haven't known that side of my family or these people. I have two long lost brothers, and I say long lost. I've actually met one of them, Matt, but I have family members that I never really knew about, and we haven't been around each other our entire lives, so it's really awkward when you get to meet them for the first time because you don't really, I don't know how to be anything other than me, and that should go for everybody. I love the fact that there's a break room with a pool table. Can I have this place? It's like an exercise room up top too. Okay, side note. Just looking at the base overlay here. As usual with the XCOM and Update, you're going to see this stuff going on in the background. Anybody want to hear what he says? No? Great. I'm glad you're on board. Dude, we've hired Hitman for the aliens. That's ridiculous. Okay, so it's I don't know how to be anything other than me. And so far from what I've noticed, the rest of my family is not only are they deeply spiritual people, but they're very kind people, and they don't really say a lot of harsh words. And you guys know me. I am a cusser. I make no qualms about it. I know that I do this, but I look at cussing as they're punctuations to the statements I make. They're not. I don't throw them out there to offend anybody, and I realize that sometimes that probably does happen. But that's just part of who I am. And you guys, if you don't watch me and the team because of it, I completely understand. But I do cuss, sometimes in dramatic excess. And I try not to, for the most part, but that doesn't always work out for me the way that I want to. So that's going to be one of my New Year's resolutions, is to try and not curb it, because I don't want to. When I want to make a statement like, "Oh, that son of a bitch pissed me off," when I want to make that clear and when I want to put some real emotion behind it, I'm going to use cuss words. I'm not even going to pretend to do anything otherwise, but I will, however, try to curb that while I'm doing Let's Plays. The other thing that comes to mind this year is, I watched a video from a gentleman named Total Biscuit on, and I think a lot of people know that guy, but I've followed him for a long time just because he says interesting things. He keeps me up to date on gaming news. I used to be an avid PC gamer, so I understand a lot of the viewpoints that he holds. And, a lot of the time I agree with what he says. But this one particular video that I watched, there were two things that kind of bugged me about it. And one is that Let's Plays on day one are bad. They're bad for developers. And do not quote me for what he said, because you would have to actually go watch the video for yourself and make this determination. I can tell you what I walked away from it with. And what I walked away from it with was, day one Let's Plays are bad. However, and this is, I can only speak from my personal experience, and I'm sure there are people out there who, if they can get away with watching a game, they might just watch a game. And there are folks that don't have the money to buy all the new games. In fact, I think I've mentioned it in a video that that's part of the reason that we do this. However, I never actually thought about the fact that they may be stripping money away from the developers because you guys will never go get the game to play it. But then I thought about it, and I've looked at all the Let's Plays. Like I'm currently into his Hearthstone Let's Plays. So he just sits there and he plays an online collectible card game. Hearthstone, it's the World of Warcraft one, and I'm trying to get into the beta way late, so it's probably not going to happen. But I do plan to pick up that game and get some PC capture software. I don't want to use Fraps if I can avoid it, but something like that so that I can maybe get into doing that, because I like that game, but I want to play that game. And even though I'm watching his Let's Plays now, and I will know all the cards at launch, I still will want to play that game. Now, he does also bring up a point that competitive multiplayer is a big deal. And, of course, if you can get into competitive multiplayer, that's, of course, he would probably say that's why he'd be okay with that. Because there's no real story behind Hearthstone. You can only be entertained by the person who's playing, not by the actual gameplay itself, because there is no real story that's taking place there. Now, my thoughts on blind Let's Plays and day one Let's Plays. The first thing is that another thing that he said in a separate video actually was that single player or solo campaign plays were lazy. And I don't know if I 100% agree with that, because I don't. That they're easier content than some, for sure. You can definitely, it's easier for me to produce a Let's Play when I'm playing along with the game. And I would do reviews. It's just, I don't know. I may give that a shot one of these days. I may put a review together and see what you guys think. But I'm not a reviewer. I very much enjoy sharing the experience with you guys. And, for the most part, I try to do my Let's Plays a few days after launch. Assassin's Creed's a perfect example of that. I didn't get that until later. And then I started playing it. There were a couple that I've done day one, but that's just because I really, really, really wanted to play the game. But for the most part, you will see me doing Let's Plays a couple days after, because I do think to a certain degree that it's wrong to put out a day one Let's Play, just because if somebody can watch the opening credits or something like that, they may not buy the game. But at the same time, I resort back to my experience here, and I say every time I watch a Let's Play or something, if I do watch a Let's Play, the only thing that has ever done is drive me to get the game that I haven't played. Now, I watch so many of them, maybe a couple, and then if I decided I'm going to play the game for you guys, I stop watching. So the Let's Play itself can be blind. Because, again, I very much enjoy sharing the experience with the nation, you guys out there. And I would love to read the comments, but I know the whole Google Comments thing is jacked up right now. So, yeah, I don't see many comments. And, you know, our channel isn't huge by any far stretch of the imagination. I may never make it big. I may make this into a job, but I don't expect it to be. I still have a day job, and I'm impressed I can keep up with what I keep up with right now, in all honesty. But this is having to actually comment throughout an entire game, think of something constructive to say, or even, really, it doesn't even have to be constructive. Thinking of something to say, always keeping that in the back of your mind, has two effects. The first one is it makes you play worse. If I were to play competitive multiplayer Call of Duty, for example, I would be far worse than I actually am, because I'm having to constantly keep something in the back of my mind that's actually distracting me from making sure that I'm playing the game itself and helping my team on to victory. So there's that. The second thing is that the times that I do actually come up with something that I want to talk about while I'm playing a game, games inspire me. So most people read a book. You go out, you buy a book, you read it. You get 50 Shades of Grey, and you get a hard-on or whatever, and you go out, and that's how you respond to life. Well, I've never been I do read. I just don't read a ton. The Wheel of Time series, the Robert Jordan series, man, when he passed away, I thought I was going to shit a Twinkie because his series was unfinished. And it didn't turn out bad now that it's complete. But, man, I was really worried about that. I do read. But I've always enjoyed interacting with the story way more than I ever have just reading the story. And that's where video games came into play for me when I was a kid. I very much enjoyed interacting with the games, and I love Final Fantasy because that's where I got my books. I read you guys read fantasy books maybe or maybe not, and I play video games, and you know, the childish side of me feels like I'm living the fantasy rather than just reading it on some pages. And then, of course, there's always things that can be said for that. Your imagination is way better. You know, I'm sure there are thousands of arguments that can be made. But again, I do read. I just don't read a lot. And I would much prefer to experience the story than I would just read it. And that's just my personal opinion. But for my New Year's resolutions, I am going to try to bring you guys a lot more quality content. And it's not that I think my content right now is not quality, but I think sometimes for some folks the cussing may get out of hand, and that kind of pushes them away. And that has never been my intent since the founding of this channel. That's never been it. I've never sought to push anybody away. In fact, the exact opposite. I've actually sought out people that I could talk to and have conversations with on YouTube, because that's one of the things I like. I'm a psychologist by degree, so I enjoy talking. I like talking to people, and it doesn't matter what the conversation topic really is. I just enjoy it. For the second part of this video, there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about, and it is the new content ID changes that are going into effect now in January. I guess they turned it off temporarily, and I don't know this for a fact, so don't quote me on any of this. The new content ID system that tags music, and it pretty much just carte blanche scatter shotguns everything and says, oh, you got a content ID match. First thing is that a content ID match is not the same as a copyright strike. Okay? Because a lot of people are terrified about copyright strikes, and rightfully so. 3 of them and your channel goes away for good. No recreation, and you can never have an account again. So that's legitimate fear. Second, a content ID prevents you from monetizing the video, and there's currently a 30-day wait procedure where you can dispute the copyright content claim, and it takes 30 days for the video to get monetized. And if you know anything about YouTube at all, you know that the most hits that you're going to get on a video are usually within the first day of its release. So they are actually killing the content creators, because if you prevent your content creators from making money, they'll have to do something else, which means the content on your website will decrease. And let's face it, 50%, and this is my guess, probably 50% of YouTube is gaming reviews, which are going to have trailers in them, legitimate content like reviews and criticizing works are going to have trailers in them that are going to get matched by the content ID system, and that's just going to kill your content. So your content creators are going to go elsewhere. So I really hope YouTube learns from the outcry that had to have been screamed from the mountaintops, and they do something about it. I don't seem to be playing very well here. I mean, I guess I'm doing fairly well, but I don't know, maybe not. But anyway, the thoughts on the content ID system is it's there to protect copyright holders. They're there to protect their IPs. The content ID system is there. I understand the reason for the content ID system, and people who are pirating are the reason that we even have it in the first place. So you have people that go out and they upload entire movies to YouTube, and that's bullshit. I do not believe in pirating in any way, shape, form, or fashion. If you like your IPs, you definitely should pay for them, because that supports the developer. Such as The Witcher 3, I will always pay for the Witcher series. CD Projekt Red is just gold as far as I'm concerned. I will always pay for any Witcher game because I want to support CD Projekt Red. I want to support them making new content every friggin' time that they do. Every time. That'll never change. Same thing with a lot of other developers. I love Bethesda. They make Skyrim. Well, you guys know. Anyway, I love the Bethesda software studios, and man, I just couldn't envision a world where I didn't get a game from them anymore. But that very well could happen if you don't go out and buy the game. But going back to my experience, any Let's Play that I've ever watched where I decided to buy a game, that was a huge part of my buying decision. I looked at the game, and it didn't even matter what the person was saying, whether they were slamming the game or not. I looked at the game, and I said, all right, I'm going to buy it. It looks good enough to me. I got a little bit into the story, and that's a good game for me to play. So I would stick to it. And that's just me. So I assume a lot of other gamers are that way. Maybe that's a generational thing. I don't think it is. I think it's a gamer thing. But if I ever watch a Let's Play, guaranteed I'm using it to make a buying decision. It is very, very rare that I will ever watch a Let's Play that I haven't already played through the game myself, or I don't plan to purchase the game, because I very much do. Assassin's Creed 4 is a perfect example. I'm kind of disenchanted with Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed series just because Desmond is gone. But at the same time, I watched a couple episodes from a YouTube buddy of mine, none other than Talos, and yeah, I decided to pick it up and actually play the game because I enjoyed it. So on that note, the content ID system, what do I think about it? It's not a perfect system by any means. I understand why it's there, but I think that it can be done more effectively some other way. That is my personal opinion to YouTube. And do I know what that other way is? I have suggestions that I may bring up in a later video, but there are better ways than just stabbing everyone in the face who makes content for you. And I don't believe that you should ever shoot the people that sign your paychecks in the face. And granted, YouTube is a part of Google, so they may not view it that way. But the other side of that coin is with the Content ID system, they are now allowing the people who created the games, if it gets matched, to direct the ad revenue towards their company. And this brings up a very, you know what, I'm actually interested in YouTube doing a split with content companies who produce video games. If you want to let us do Let's Plays and you don't really give a crap about it, but you need to make some money off that to continue creating in the future, because you only have, let's face it, you have the purchase of the new game. That's the only revenue stream that comes from making a video game. Believe it or not, GameStop and all those places, they do not, when you buy a used game, which is why you shouldn't, none of that money goes to the dev. None of that money goes to the content creator. And I am very much behind, actually, 5% or 10% of the ad revenue going back to the creator. I would totally be willing to do that with any content or any development company that would like it. You can have 10% of any ad revenue I make, which is nothing. I don't make any money. I haven't even gotten a paycheck. I've been a partner of RPM now for a while, which if you want to be an RPM partner, you can click down below. But I've been a partner with them for a while. And I haven't received a paycheck yet. And that's normal. It's a new channel. And I say new, we've been around for almost a couple years now, but it's still new. And I would be totally on board with something like that, because there are not enough streams of revenue for game creators. The people who make these games don't make enough money. I mean, that like GTA 5 clearly made enough money to support them making another game in the future. But smaller game developers who produce great games, who don't have another income source, and that because they spent all their money making the game, they might not have had a ton of ad revenue for actually developing marketing for the game. You know, it sucks that they would suffer. And I understand the Content ID decision where the creator would have the ability to redirect that payment. Now, from the people who are getting Content ID'd on music, that's bullshit. That's incidental. It's part of the game. It's kind of required. And if you hit that with Content ID, screw you, shame on you. You deserve to be kicked squarely and firmly in the balls. That is my opinion on that. That's just wrong. You should not steal from the people who make you popular. And let's face it, if I go out and I do an AMV of a song, that's quite a bit different from incidentally running across that song in the GTA car that I'm driving around. And that, for me, that was just dumb that ever happened, because you don't get enough of the song. Unless I'm literally just driving around not saying anything, you're not going to hear the whole song. You're going to hear the song interrupted, which is not what most people prefer. I don't know anybody who prefers that shit. So that made no sense to me why the Content ID system would do that. But again, ooh, look, I completed it successfully, I might add. But there was that whole fiasco. I think the Content ID system right now is not perfect at all. And I would actually like to see YouTube implement something where game developers were able to get a smaller, and that would have to be worked out. We would have to talk it over. And when I say we, I mean all of the YouTube communities. YouTube in general would have to talk it out with game developers. But I see that as fair, honestly, to them, because they do not have enough revenue streams. And that would make sense to me. However, taking all of the ad revenue off my videos when maybe 5 seconds of it was copyrighted material that you could say you're entitled to because it's not transformational, like a cutscene or something, maybe a minute. That is horse dookie. That is horse poo-poo, in my opinion. And I'm probably going to get lambasted for my views on the Content ID system, that one particular part of it. And you know what? You guys are entitled to your opinion. I understand it. But I want you to think about this, yeah? I want you to think about exactly how much money a developer gets for producing that game. And where does that money come from? And if you can come up with multiple streams of revenue for a game developer, outside of merchandise, which is normal for everything, and the actual buying of the brand new game, then put them down in the comments below. And then I will retract and rescind my statements on the content ID should actually give a certain percentage to the developer. I think that is fair, in my opinion. At this time, at the time of this video, I believe that is fair to them. And that's my thoughts on some of the content ID stuff. You guys, you leave me your thoughts down below because I'm curious to know. I really am. Till next time, I'm the Midman signing off temporarily. Love you guys and Happy New Year!